welcome back to another Books and Looks video. I'm Jen, and if you are new here, thank you so much for watching my video. What I do is I combine two of my favorite things, playing with makeup and reading books, and put them together into Books and Looks. So I will tell you about a book that I recently read while I put my makeup on for the day. So it's like a combo, get ready with me / book review kind of a situation. So those of you who are returning, thanks for coming back. I hope you are entertained. And today's book is The Words in My Hands by Asphyxia. And this book was actually recommended to me by a teacher friend of mine because I know American Sign Language, and the main character in this book is deaf, and she is actually Australian, and in the story she learns Australian Sign Language, Auslan. Now, I don't know Auslan, but I do know ASL, so my friend was like, I thought you might like it. The main character is deaf, and so I'll give it a try, right? Why not? So here we are. So this book, like I said, the main character, Piper, is deaf, but she is oral deaf, which means that she lip reads and she speaks and tries to pass as normal. But she always feels like she doesn't always understand what's going on, and she's always struggling. She has headaches, etc., etc. So this book is, like I said, it's in Australia, but it's like this dystopian future world, not that far in the future, but it's like this alternate universe where the world, or at least Australia, basically there's no like wild grown food, as they call it. They call it wild food, and they have deemed wild food to be like dangerous and poisonous and not illegal, but like only approved farmers can grow food, and they have to grow food in the way that the government specifies. And then the government takes that food and genetically modifies it so that it has like perfect nutritional value for people. It has supplements in it and nutrients and stuff. And whatever they have done, like this scientific organization called Organicore has basically created this like fake food essentially. And it's been a good thing though, because it has like eradicated hunger. Well, not exactly. That's not true. They've cured cancer through this like food stuff. They've gotten rid of the common cold. They have eliminated obesity because people aren't overeating. They're eating like the perfect nutritional value foods, whatever, you know? So like all these great things. And so it's touted as like this is a health thing. And so everybody is expected to eat this food. And they have even gone so far as to like through welfare systems, they'll like they give free housing to people who can't afford it, or at least, you know, low income housing. And these apartments don't have kitchens because their food is completely 100% provided for by Organicore, right? So, and that's great because you have food. It's like exactly the perfect nutritional value, and you're never hungry, and it's, you know, it's lovely. It's great. Unfortunately, it is creating the perfect storm for if for whatever reason Organicore can't do what they're supposed to do. Right, there's a problem. So because people don't know how to grow food, they have been propaganda against naturally grown food for like the last decade. People don't have kitchens. There's no grocery stores, anything like that, because everything is delivered to people on a weekly basis to have 3 meals a day per person, right? So like on the surface, it's great. They've gotten rid of all of these diseases and everybody has food and it's great. However, there are these like secret rebellious groups that are secretly still growing food, and like they have it in their house, and they have chickens and they have rabbits and they have other food or other animals that they use for food, you know, like goats and things to have their own milk. Well, Piper, her mom works for Organicore. She's one of the primary scientists who like created this formula of food that eradicated all this stuff, right? So Piper's living pretty large in the beginning of the story. However, it starts out with her mom loses her job because Organicor is like falling apart financially for many reasons. And like there's also an issue with gas. Like gas prices, oil prices, and gas prices are through the roof. Like literally, it's like $80 a gallon. And so people are like selling their cars and riding bicycles, which turns out to be important. And so when mom loses her job, so Piper and her mom end up moving into their like garage slash shed and renting out their house because they're broke. They have no income. And because of the cost of gas and like distribution issues, sound familiar? There's like distribution issues because they can't afford the gas. Like the farmers can't afford to transport their food to Organicor facilities, and Organicor can't afford to transport food to all the people, literally all the people. So number one, people start getting less and less food, and number two, nobody can afford anything anymore. Like even going to the store for bits and pieces here and there, like everything is expensive and everything's low stock, and kind of similar to what we dealt with during the pandemic, but like on a much larger, well, I guess I wouldn't say on a much larger scale, but like it got much worse than what we experienced. Like people are starving, people, like electricity's being turned off. It's really bad, right? So, and Piper ends up, she kind of drops out of school. She's 16, and apparently in Australia, when you're 16, you can drop out of school. So she doesn't like officially drop out of school. She just stops going. And she's like, I don't understand. I don't learn anything because I don't understand what's going on anyway. Everything's a struggle. I have headaches all day long because like she's deaf and she has to concentrate so hard to know what's going on, and people don't accommodate her. And it's just, so she's like, there's no reason. We need money. We don't have enough food. We're living in the garage. Like a school is so not important right now. So she ends up getting a job, a part-time job at this bike shop, because she goes there to get herself a bike, well, to rent a bike because she can't afford to buy one, with the little bit of money that she has. And, oh, side note, the internet is now so censored that like everything on the internet is pro Organicor, pro government, like so that ends up being important too later. So she tries to get a job with the internet people, like the government that runs the internet, as a reviewer, which basically means somebody who like reads stuff and determines if it's okay and like censors stuff. But they won't hire her because she's deaf, and they're like, how are you going to review and decide what's appropriate if you can't even hear the stuff? And she's like, well, I'll just do the text stuff, like text messages and articles and things. I just won't do the audio stuff. And they're like, no, we can't be doing that. We need our employees to do everything. So she doesn't get the job. So she ends up going to this bike shop, right? She's renting a bike from there, and she meets the guy who runs it. His name's Marley. He's only a couple years older than her. And he recognizes right away that she's deaf because his mom is deaf, and he signs. So he starts signing with her, and she's like, I don't know sign. I'm oral. I speak. And he's like, oh, okay. So he and she become really close. And of course, she has this big crush on him, right? This cute guy who's recognizing and accommodating and not judging her because of her deafness, just like being cool and treating her like a normal person and just, being awesome. So she has a big crush on him, right? His name's Marley. His mom, Robbie, is deaf. He takes Piper to his house and to meet Robbie. Like, let me introduce you to my mom. She's deaf. And furthermore, Robbie and his mom are anti-Organicor food. They grow all their own food. They have chickens and everything. They have figured it all out. But they're kind of doing it. It's not totally illegal because it's completely within their own home and they're not distributing it. But Piper is intrigued. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm starving. We haven't had our full subscription of food in weeks. And we're hungry. We don't have money to go and buy stuff. Like, we don't know what to do, right? So she ends up asking Robbie to teach her how to cook and grow food and do all this stuff, how to make a homemade stovetop and all this stuff, which Robbie does. Now, side note, Piper is a really good artist, and she has like this journal that she doodles in. It's just kind of like a side hobby for her. But she takes notes in this journal of hers on and kind of makes like mini posters for herself to learn how to do this. And then she takes everything she learns back home and she builds a little oven for her little garage shed where they're living now. And outside of her front house, like between her side of the street and the other side of the street, is like a strip in the middle where there used to be greenery, but now it's just a patch of dirt. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm growing a garden there. So she decides to grow a garden according to what Robbie teaches her, and has like, Robbie gives her seedlings, and she has her poster on like how to make compost and how to collect rainwater and all this stuff. So she starts doing this. And like a month or so goes by and she starts seeing sprouts. And also this whole time she's I already got it out. She's working with Robbie and learning sign language and Marley. So this boy is teaching her sign language. His mom is also sort of teaching her sign language, but mainly teaching her about food growth and cooking and stuff. And in the meantime, her mom is just like surviving and like looking for jobs. Her mom also knows the prime minister because she works for Organicorp. She has connections to the government and knows the prime minister, Mrs. Kildare. I think it was Kildare. Well, that also ends up being important. So now Piper has basically quit school and she's hanging out at the bike shop and working on fixing up bikes for money. But instead of for money, she's like, I don't want money. I mean, she takes a little bit of money, but she basically just wants them to continue teaching her how to grow her own food and all this stuff. So she's doing this and the food is growing. And what's really cool is her neighbors start noticing, and her neighbors are all really like starving too, because nobody has enough food from the Organicorp subscriptions, the mailers that they send out. Like they have deliveries every week, like I said, but it's like half the amount of food that they're used to. So everybody's hungry. And then, so they're all coming out. But what's interesting is they all have different skills. Like the one lady is like, oh, we need security because people are definitely going to steal our food. So she puts together a security system and sets up like a schedule for guard shifts to keep the food. And the chickens grow and they start getting eggs, and like the one person knows how to cook and like teaches other people like this is how you can cook and this is how you do that. And different foods and vegetables and stuff, they all contribute something, right? Like the one person has tools and so brings out like gardening tools, so she doesn't just have to use her hands and a fork anymore. They actually have like gardening tools. So they all come together as a community. Well, as it just so happens, well, there's two things that just so happen. Number one, Marley's connections to like the underground food growing anti-government network turns out to be beneficial because there's like a rally going on. And he's like, wow, my new friend Piper, she has made these really cool flyers in her journal. Like we could use this to like advertise our rally and get people more involved. So they do that, right? They start using her artwork and making stencils of her really cool, like she's making propaganda essentially, like posters and stuff. But hold on that, but I'll get to that. So they're planning this big rally, this like anti-Organicorp, like the government needs to listen to us. We're starving. Let us grow our own food, change the laws. They even come in and the government even comes in a couple of times and destroys people's gardens. Not Marley's, because they've kept it very well hidden and secret inside their house and in their garden with like walls and whatnot. But other people have. So like it's been building and people are coming together and they're going to have this big rally where they invited Prime Minister Kildare to come and listen. They don't expect her to show up, right? So they have this big rally coming up. And Piper made this really cool poster that said something like, grow food, not concrete, because they keep destroying all the green areas where food is growing. And so, and like bulldozing it or whatever. So she makes this poster, and she's actually spray painting it around town as like an advertisement for the rally. And there's like information about the rally coming up in like 2 or 3 weeks. Well, unfortunately, because she's deaf and she's stopped wearing her hearing aids unless she's around her mom, because she is like learning sign language and she likes it so much better and she doesn't get headaches anymore. So she's doing this without her hearing aids in, and the police catch her doing this graffiti, which is illegal, of course, defacing public property, whatever. And so she gets arrested. But because of like this discrimination and ignorance about deaf people, when they realize she's deaf, this actually works in her benefit. They basically let her go, and they're like, oh, poor deaf girl. She doesn't know any better. We should just let her go. But they still give her a $2,000 fine. And before they let her go, she actually spends a couple of days in jail. And the organization that's planning the rally, the like rebels, so to speak, they actually raise money and pay her bail so she can get out. But she still has to stand trial. And everybody's just like, well, we need to go easy on her. She's deaf, da 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 da. But she still has to stand trial and pay this fine. So they pay her fine. They get her out of jail. They're still having this rally. And now, oh, and then the other interesting thing, one of her neighbors that has been pitching in with the garden happens to be a journalist for a newspaper, like one of the big Australian newspapers, like the New York Times, but Australia. So she puts together this article about this community garden and how this local deaf girl is working with her neighbors, and it's like really powerful and significant. People are starving and she's creating food and sharing. The community's coming together. It's wonderful. It's already, bearing fruit, etc., etc. Sidebar, I do not usually use liquid eyeliner, and I'm going to try. I got this. It was like pretty inexpensive. It's Essence. So I think it was like maybe $4 or $5. So I'm going to give it a try. Don't judge me. I mean, you can judge me. Let's be like, go ahead, whatever. But we'll see how this goes. It could be a disaster. I don't know. So the lady does this article and also brings in the fact that the local authorities recently arrested her. Oh, crap, I already got wonky. Recently arrested her for promoting a rally that she's participating in. And she got this big fine. And furthermore, she got a notice from the local authorities saying, it looks much better on camera than it does in real life. I'm not done. She gets a notification from the government basically saying, like, you can't have this garden on public property. It is a danger to your community if you share this food. It could be poisonous and you'll be held responsible. You have, I don't know, like 30 days or something, whatever it was, to get rid of it, or we will come in and destroy it and, get rid of it our way, which basically means bulldoze it. So the lady puts all of that in the article. Like, she was arrested and she's deaf and she's making this community garden and she's bringing this amazing thing. She's doing all these amazing things. And now they want to destroy the garden and da-da-da-da-da. So she kind of sort of gets famous because everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, again, their ignorance was like, this deaf girl is doing all these amazing things. Like, she is so fantastic. We're so impressed. When in reality, like, anybody can do it. She's just deaf. There's nothing wrong with her. She can do anything anybody else can do except hear, right? But it kind of works in her favor because it gets everybody's attention. And they're like, well, this isn't fair. Like, she's just trying to survive like the rest of us, and she's coming up with solutions. She's feeding people, which is more than Organicore is doing. Like, we're all, like, the whole town is starving. And then her mom finally gets a new job, right? Because now Organicore has decided to do like rations where they have like a food bank kind of a thing. So instead of distributing it to everybody's house weekly, like they have been doing, like they can't afford that. So they just deliver it all to like one facility and then people line up. And mom is like managing that local one. Well, as it turns out, they don't give people the ready-made food like they used to. They give them ingredients. But the problem is most people don't have kitchens because over the last decade or so, since the food system has changed so much, people don't need kitchens. Furthermore, even if they have kitchens, nobody knows how to cook. Nobody has the cooking materials. Nobody has pots and pans and stirring things. Like this stuff, people just, like, it's been over a decade. Nobody has this stuff anymore. Very few people have this stuff anymore. So it doesn't work out well at all. Now, luckily, Piper has learned how to do a little bit of cooking and made like the homemade oven or whatever. So she and her mom are doing okay, but it's not enough food for anybody. So people are still starving. So, she was in jail. She got out of jail. This rations thing is happening. People are still not happy. She's come up with this great solution, but nobody will listen to her. But this rally's coming up, right? And the people ask her, like, you're famous now because of this article, and you're just an amazing person. Like, you've done so much. You, on your own accord, made your own garden and are feeding your neighborhood. You are taking it upon yourself to learn and spread the word with, like, your posters. You got arrested, so, like, you're in the news now. Like, everybody's like, you need to be the person who speaks at this rally. So she writes a speech. We don't get to see it in the story, but it's basically about, like, the right to cook and eat and whatnot. So it's good. She comes to the rally, and she does it in sign language. She gets some of her new deaf friends to help her sign it. And in the meantime, her mom had no idea she was learning sign. It's like, you can't be signing. People already think you're this stupid deaf person. Like, signing will just make it obvious. You need to try to adapt and, like, fit yourself into this world. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to get a job. People are never going to take you seriously, which is not true. Her mom is, unfortunately, a very typical, ignorant, hearing mother of a deaf child, just doing what they think is best, but don't know the whole story. When in reality, when she starts communicating with sign, she finds a whole tribe, the deaf community. And she learns to communicate so much more clearly and doesn't stress all the time. She's making friends. She never really made friends before because she couldn't communicate. So she gets in this big fight with her mom. And on the day of the rally, she sees all of her new friends out there, her community members, but she doesn't see her mom. Because as it turns out, her mom finally comes around. I am sweating. It's the eyeliner. Doing the eyeliner stressed me out, and now I'm, like, really hot and sweaty. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to pull up the back of my hair and use these little clips because, holy crap, I'm sweating. I'm a hot mess. Okay. It helped a little bit. So, whew. Okay, I'm good. So, as it turns out, her mom finally comes around. Pardon me. Whew, sweaty. Okay. Her mom finally comes around. And because she knows Prime Minister Kildare from having worked at Organicorp, she calls her up and basically says, Karen, her first name's Karen, we need to talk. This is a serious problem. I have some ideas on how we can fix this. Furthermore, my daughter has some great ideas. This is the situation. She got in legal trouble, blah, 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 blah. Building the garden, et cetera, fills her in on everything and says, you need to come to this rally. You're going to be shocked at what the people have to say and what some amazing ideas that my daughter and her friends in this rebel organization have. So Prime Minister Kildare turns out to be there, and so is Mom. And after Piper gives her fantastic speech and everybody's like, yeah, listen to her, she's amazing, this is what we need. We need somebody who can promote this and, represent us, that we can do this and we can make the world a better place and we don't need to rely on the government for food and blah, 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 blah. So then Karen Kildare pops out on stage and is like, hi, I'm the Prime Minister and I understand you have very valid concerns. I hear you. I'm going to listen to you. It's not that easy to just change everything, but I understand that this is a problem and you are all 100% correct. You have amazing ideas and we are going to listen and we are going to start taking the steps to make these changes, so that changing the laws so that it's not illegal to grow your own food and cook your own food. Yes, wild food can make you sick, but clearly it's better than starving, and not all of it does. Oh, and then there was also this little thing stirring under the surface, or bubbling under the surface, where people who eat only organic-core food have been having lung problems. Like, asthma is on the rise since eating this. So, like, they're starting to look into that. They started to look into that. But right before the rally, like a couple days before the rally, you find out Organicore has filed for bankruptcy and closed its doors. So everybody's like, well, now what are we going to do? No food? Like, you have to change the laws. So that's why Prime Minister Kildare is like, we're going to change these laws. We are going to make not reverse all of the changes, but fix the things that we've done. No kitchens, we're going to take that back, and trainings on like what food is healthy to eat and what food we should avoid. Like, we're going to share all that information with you, etc., etc. And so it ends on this happy note. There was also obviously the little romance bubbling under the surface. I had mentioned that Piper and Marley kind of had these crushes on each other. And so over the course of the story, they get closer and closer. At one point, they kind of sort of become a couple, but Piper's mom gets a job opportunity in Sydney and is like, we're moving in 2 weeks to go to Sydney. And of course, she's like, well, I'm not. Like, no. And she runs away and is missing for a while. And so mom ends up losing the job because she won't go without her. So she doesn't get the job, which turns out to be good because the job ended up being like a sham. And like the person who did get the job ended up contacting Piper's mom and saying, like, this is a joke. You dodged a bullet. I haven't been paid. It's been weeks, etc., etc. So part of the reason she stayed back is because of Marley. But they like broke up before she left. And then when she came back, or like ran away and came back, he was like dating this other girl. So there was like 2 weeks where he was dating this other girl and it was awkward. But then they broke up because he's like, she doesn't get it. She's like really not rude, but like she doesn't get it with regards to my mom's deafness. But like, and I'm just constantly trying to explain to her what it's like and to be cool. And even though she's amazing with regards to the rallies and everything, that she's just not right for me in my life and whatnot. So Piper and Marley end up getting back together. And they become an official couple, and it's lovely. It was a little bit annoying, though, because it was very clear. It was very clear to me as the reader that, like, they have a crush on each other, and they just need to get together, right? But when they get together, they were like, oh, I've had a crush on you. And they're like, I can't believe it. I didn't know you had a crush on me. And they, like, said the same thing. Like, I've liked you since, like, we first met. And I just thought you didn't like me. And I thought you just really enjoyed, like, what you were learning from me and not me. And she's like, well, I thought you didn't really like me. And you were dating this other girl. And you were just being nice to me. And we were just friends. And he's just like, no, I've liked you since the first time we met. Blah, blah, blah. And it's just, like, obviously, like, very teen. So it was very real with regards to teen life. But I digress. So, yeah, that's how the story ends. They end up a couple. The Organicore like goes under, and the prime minister basically says like, okay, we're gonna start redoing things and changing how we manage things. I'm just noticing that I feel like this side is shorter than this side. It is by a little, isn't it? I might want to grab some scissors and fix that. Just kind of do this little thing right here. And okay, that neither here nor there. Sorry. So it ends up with it's a happy ending. Like people are starving, but now they can grow their own food and it's not illegal, and it's wonderful and awesome. I'm going to make my eyes a little bit more smoky and intense because kind of what I was thinking I was going for was like a smoky eye. Since this is a dystopia, I wanted where like, there's no green. I wanted like grays and dark colors and things of that nature. So let's smoky this up a little bit more. And also I wanted to make my eyes really pop because in deaf culture, eyes are important, right? It's your eyes and your hands that you use to communicate. So I wanted my eyes to be like kind of the focal point to go with the concept of deaf culture and deaf community. So yeah, that's what I'm coming into here. Do you like the smoky look? Do you do smoky looks much? I know it's a lot, and I love it. I love the way it looks. I love doing it. I like doing it not even in blacks. I like doing it in other colors. I like smoky looks. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna really smoke it out even underneath. How's that? Fun? Funsies? Funsies? Yeah. It's not really coming up on the screen. That's okay. What do you think? Oh, I don't have any lipstick on. Yeah, that's the end of my book. The Words in My Hands by Asphyxia. Asphyxia is also a deaf artist, author. So a lot of the stuff that she wrote about was very real. She says in her little author blurb at the end that she also grew up oral and didn't learn sign until a little bit later in life. And when she did, she realized like there's this whole world out there, this whole culture and this whole community that she was kind of mad that she was missing out on, and now has fully embraced her deafness and deaf culture and deaf community and deaf identity. And so that's part of the reason she wrote about what she wrote. Yeah, I thought it was a really good book. I really enjoyed reading it. It took me a little while to get into it, but I really liked it. I liked the little tidbits of deaf culture and slang because I know ASL and I know like a lot of the terms with regards to how signs are made and like, you know, just referring to hand shape and position and movement and facial expressions and all of that. When the author was describing some Auslan signs, you know, as Piper was learning them, like I understood what she was saying, and I was able to learn quite a few signs, which was kind of cool. I think thank you was the same. Like the alphabet was the same as British Sign Language alphabet. Like the vowels are A-E-I-O-U. And what's neat is this book had some pictures in it because since both the author and the main character are artists, first of all, every page had like these cool backgroundy things, which is really cool. But even then, there were like key pieces of art. I'm trying to find some of the things that she made. Like, where's the thing that she got arrested for? Well, here's the thing that she drew because like the prime minister is like a puppet. But after Organicor went under, she wasn't a puppet anymore. There's another cool, like her looking at herself in the mirror. Where's the one where she... I don't think I'm going to be able to find it when she gets arrested. Must be earlier. Anyway, it was really cool. I loved the art. It was good. The art coordinated with the story and it enhanced the story. So I loved that. It was pretty young. I mean, it was for young adults, so it was kind of like very young. Like if I was a teenager, I would have adored this book. I would have thought it was 10 out of 10 amazing. But because like the characters a little bit got on my nerves because they were so teenagery, like with the relationship, it was just like, oh my gosh, come on, just ask her out, right? So anyway, let me put a little sparkle on my brows like I like to do. Yeah, I really liked it. I would give it like probably like an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It was a good story. It had some fantastic messages and morals in it, not just about like society and social justice and government control and things of that nature, but also about like deaf culture and inclusion and things like that. Like it was really good, and the pacing was good. I really liked that the story took place over the span of like 6 months, and there were a couple of stints where you had like each chapter was like its own journal entry with like the date, so it was really easy to follow along in the timeline. And sometimes it would be a couple of days in a row, and then sometimes it would be like a week or 10 days between entries. So that was cool. Yeah, so that's the end of the book, and that's the end of my look. I just went with this color lip because I feel like I haven't done a bold lip in a while, and since I had bold eyes, I normally don't do bold eyes and bold lip, but here we are. Here we are. I kind of like it. I feel badass, which is appropriate because Piper is badass. Yeah. So that's my book. That's my look. I hope you like it. If you feel like doing something bold like this, I support it. Do it. And love it. All right. Well, that said, I hope you have a wonderful day, week, month, and everything. And, oh wait, I almost forgot to say, add some comments down below of if you know this book. Sarah, you're the one who recommended this to me. If you watch this, add some comments on what you thought of it and what you liked about it. If you know anything about deaf culture or sign language, add a comment below. We'll chat about it and share some of our experiences and thoughts. I'd love to chat with you about that. If you're deaf, have you read this book? You should. It was cute. And yeah, so that said, the end. As I always say, stay beautiful inside and out. Bye.